started the difficult and dangerous task of cutting and lifting the first section of twisted steel from the mangled remains of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. Demolition crews using a cutting torch to slice through the bridge's thick beams left twisted and shredded after it collapsed Tuesday. The U.S. Transportation Board Secretary says the process is extremely challenging. Joining me now to discuss is Butch Hendrick. He's a rescue diver and president and founder of Lifeguard Systems. Butch, good evening, and thanks so much for being with us. Can you explain what crews are going to be dealing with? Where do they even begin? How complicated and potentially dangerous is this cleanup?
Well, certainly, as you've already pointed out, dangerous is the key word here, because what they're going to be doing is looking at how do they start above the water and start cutting pieces out and hoping that the portions underwater are not going to go further down. They're not going to submerge more. Then they're going to be looking at, the divers can't see anything for the most part. So again, we're in Braille, and some of what they will be doing, if you will, is measuring with a measured cord how large the I-beam is that they are touching, which will then tell the engineers they're on a mainframe or they're on part of the structural holding of the angle, so that they can start to understand what part of the bridge are they touching underwater. And then that will tell them where they need to cut in order to get it removed.
Oh my gosh. And there's 4,000 tons of debris to go through, Butch.
Yeah, it's enormous, and it's a tangled mess. So when you think about the diver, just think again, if you're in your own closet, and if I just disturbed everything in your closet, turned out the lights, and told you to find a given shirt, it'd be a little difficult. So here, they're trying to do that, but they've got to be concerned about what's above them. They're working in a confined space, overhead environment. So everything they do has to come in to the action. And when they leave, it has to come, they have to come back out to come up. They don't know what's above them, so it's all got to start at the top and quietly move down. And as you saw in your video a moment ago, they're going to be using heavy-duty cutting tools and cutting sections out, and then they have to be lifted away. And every piece that's lifted away, I have to make sure there are no divers that are still in the water that can be hurt if there's something goes wrong in the extraction process.
I feel claustrophobic just listening to you describe this process. I can't even imagine how you would begin to train for this type of work. Will the divers be present throughout the entire cleanup process, or is it just in the initial stages that they'll be called on?
No, I don't see how they're going to do this without divers right up until the end, because somehow, even if we use a remote vehicle, an underwater robot, it still has to get in around the debris, make an attachment that's going to be secure. That requires a human touch. The ability to realize we've set it up, they've now got to check and make sure that every piece is clean so that the next piece can come out. And right here, when that piece comes out of your structure and goes into the water, it's going to cause more problems. It's already got to be hooked up. They're ready to hoist it out when it's time to go. That's going to happen 1,000 times underwater in the next week.
The priority for crews and for the governor, for the state, really for the country, is to get commerce moving again in the port. Could you even hazard a guess as to how long it's going to take, Butch, to remove all of that debris?
Well, again, they're not moving all the debris. I believe what their main job is, they're going to open up the channel so that commerce can begin. It's costing them millions of dollars a day. I believe that by the time next weekend, we're going to be surprised at what these crews can do. They're going to work 24 hours a day. They're professionals at it. And I'm sure that they're bringing in other professionals from around the world to make this happen.
Butch Hendrick, thanks so much for your insight into this. Butch is a rescue diver, and he's the president of the Lifeguard Systems. Thanks again.